And you go through all the cupboards and you check the Frigidaire. You don't know what you're hungry for, but you're sure it isn't there. And you can't find all of the pieces or the coffee pot. So you sit down at the table and you read the cornflakes box. I know, been there too. I've been down in the kitchen, same as you. And you gaze out of the window as you sit there killing time, fingering the milk you spilled out into a design. And you drop a piece of silverware, but you leave it where it lies. Stare at the linoleum, making patterns with your eyes. I know, been there too. I've been down in the kitchen, same as you. Now the streets are full of people who seem to have it made. But we've all been down in the kitchen, lonely and afraid. So wash your dirty dishes and put away your glass and go out from your kitchen as though you'd been to mass. Go out from your kitchen and know you've been to mass.
It was great.
Been down in the kitchen?
I guess so.
I hope so.
They say you're a troubadour minister. I guess that means you go out from the kitchen.
Exactly. That's well put. I guess maybe I have a kitchen ministry. Trying to relate with my poems and songs that we are all in the kitchen, no matter what your politics or your color or your particular religious affiliation is, that we are all down in the kitchen, and let's find some things that tie us together rather than separate us.
So that means you talk a lot about loneliness.
Yes.
You've already talked to me a lot about
Yeah.
loneliness.
Well, that's one thing I have a hunch that you probably are, at least half the time. And, you know, we traditionally have used religion in a sense to duck loneliness. And yet if you look at, say, the communion service, it's when the Good Friday syndrome is the day that Christ went away. And that's the day that man comes together in the loneliness. You know, I ask, you can remember what you did Easter, and you can remember what you did Christmas, but what did you do Good Friday? And we're kind of a whole culture that's kind of afraid of the loneliness, the death side of life, and in ignoring it, I think we're missing a lot of living, because that's half the story. And so let's use it as a meeting ground, a kitchen table for us all to gather around and say, gee, me too. You know, a fellow once gave me a backhanded compliment. He says, Rick, it's rare that we get a sensitive poet and a showboat in the same body. And yet I do believe that that's what a minister is about. He has to be human. It's got to be real and human. And at the same time, it better be a good show. And so it's kind of a unique job.
You don't have the ordinary qualifications, if they are qualifications, to be an ordained minister. Does that help you?
I think it hinders me with some who are quite taken by all the letters after your name. But I, on the other hand, I'm 43 now, and I learned what I learned in the rock and roll jungles of Hollywood. I worked 10 years for Warner Brothers and finishing concrete. And I think when you're talking about ministry, human to human, that you don't have to have all the letters. Although it's nice, I enjoy a good head trip too, and a well put together student's approach to a sermon. But I myself am kind of a feeling guy. And just, let you know when I'm feeling bad and let you know when I'm feeling good.
So a man such as yourself obviously has a lot of faith that the church isn't dying.
Oh, it's in distress, but I don't think it need die. I do believe that we all need communion, And for many, and especially the young, that the bread and the wine are stale and sour. And so let's find some new kinds of bread and wine. And a good example is that kitchen syndrome that we all, if you live in Western civilization and you have a kitchen, you've stood in there all alone in the morning. And that can, as I say, can be, wine and bread. One of the dangers is if I tell you too much about my kitchen, which tends to be a head trip kind of thing. Now, my kitchen table has red checkered tablecloth, and outside my window is a bluebird that comes. I slowly rob you of yours. So the very beauty of poetry and song lyrics, it allows you to have your own kitchen and your own cast of characters, and I have mine, and therefore we can use it as communion. You dig?
Sure.
Okay.
So is this the way that you see the church moving, or maybe is this the way that the church has to move?
Well, I work out, when asked, what is a Unitarian? I being a Unitarian minister, and very often a college student will ask me, what is a Unitarian? And I don't mean this to be facetious, but my answer is this. It's a secret. You'll have to find out for yourself. Because we all work out our own salvation. And what it means for me may not mean the same thing to the next person, and shouldn't. And so I'm working out my salvation this way, and yet many others are working in many different ways. And the church is not irrelevant if there is a single person gaining sustenance from it. And we must always remember that. But as an institution, whether it dies like the church in England, I don't know.